I need you to understand something about comfort. It will smile in your face while it slowly steals your destiny. Comfort will tuck you in, keep you warm, keep you safe, and keep you small. You think you're resting, but you're really rusting. You think you're protecting yourself, but you're actually imprisoning yourself. Because nothing extraordinary has ever been born in a place where nothing is demanded. Greatness doesn't grow where everything is easy. It grows where you're stretched, where you're tested, where you're forced to become more than who you were yesterday. Some of you are not tired from working too hard. You're tired from living without purpose. You wake up, you go through the motions, you do just enough to get by, and then you wonder why your life feels heavy. It's heavy because your potential is carrying the weight of everything you refuse to become. There's a version of you that is stronger, sharper, more disciplined, more fearless, but you keep negotiating with comfort instead of confronting it. You keep choosing familiar pain over unfamiliar growth. Comfort will tell you, stay here, you're okay, at least you're not failing. But listen to me, not moving forward is failing. Playing small is failing. Watching your dreams from a distance instead of pursuing them with everything in you, that's the real loss. Because when you stay comfortable, you don't just avoid risk, you avoid transformation, and without transformation, nothing changes. Same habits, same environment, same results year after year, until one day you wake up and realize you traded your possibilities for temporary ease. Growth feels awkward, it feels uncertain, it feels like you don't know what you're doing because you don't. You're doing something new. You're stepping into territory your old self has never walked through, and that's exactly why it's necessary. Muscles don't grow without resistance. Minds don't expand without challenge. Character isn't built when life is smooth. It's built when everything in you wants to quit, but you decide to continue anyway. Stop waiting until you feel ready. Comfort will make sure that day never comes. Stop waiting for confidence. Confidence is not a prerequisite for action, it's the result of action. You build it by showing up when it's inconvenient, by pushing when it's uncomfortable, by doing the thing you said you were too tired, too scared, or too unsure to do. Every time you choose growth over ease, you send a message to yourself. I am capable of more. And here's the truth most people don't want to hear. The life you want is going to require a version of you that doesn't exist yet. That person wakes up earlier, that person sacrifices distractions, that person does the hard work even when nobody is watching, clapping, or believing. And you don't become that person by staying comfortable. You become that person by stepping into discomfort so often that it stops feeling like an enemy and starts feeling like home. Because on the other side of comfort is opportunity, on the other side of fear is expansion, on the other side of I don't know if I can, is I can't believe I almost didn't. But you will never see that side if you keep building walls around your safety. At some point, you have to decide that a meaningful life is more important than a comfortable one. So when it gets hard, good. When it feels uncertain, good. When you're stretched beyond what feels easy, that's not a sign to retreat. That's a sign you're finally moving. Because comfort will keep you alive, but discomfort is what will make you come alive. If you want a life most people only dream about, you must be willing to live in a way most people avoid. Fear will talk to you in a voice that sounds reasonable. It won't scream, it will whisper, it will say, wait a little longer. It will say, what if it doesn't work? It will say, you don't want to embarrass yourself. And because it sounds logical, because it sounds protective, you start to believe it's wisdom. But it's not wisdom, it's a thief. Fear doesn't come to guide you. It comes to guard the door between who you are and who you're supposed to become. Some of you think fear means stop. No, fear means there's something on the other side worth fighting for. Nobody gets scared about things that don't matter. You don't lose sleep over average. You don't feel your heart pounding over ordinary. Fear shows up when you're standing in front of something that could change your life. It shows up when you're about to outgrow your old identity. It shows up when the next level is calling your name, but the current level still feels safe. And fear will paint pictures in your mind, worst case scenarios, humiliation, rejection, failure, loss. It will make you feel the pain before anything has even happened. That's how powerful it is. It can stop your feet without ever touching you. It can lock doors that were never actually closed. It convinces you that staying where you are is safer than stepping into the unknown, even if where you are is slowly suffocating your dreams. But here's what fear doesn't tell you. It doesn't tell you about the cost of obedience. It doesn't tell you about the years you will lose waiting. It doesn't tell you about the opportunities that will pass by while you hesitate. It doesn't tell you about the quiet regret that creeps in when you watch someone else live the life you were afraid to pursue. Fear only shows you the pain of action. It hides the pain of inaction. Most people think failure is the enemy. Failure is not the enemy. Failure is feedback. Failure is experience. Failure is a teacher that will sharpen you if you let it. The real enemy is never stepping into the arena at all, because if you try and fall, you can stand up wiser, stronger, tougher. But if you never try, you stay exactly where you started, except now you carry doubt with you, and doubt is heavy. It weighs on your confidence, your decisions, your sense of possibility. Understand this. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is movement in spite of it. Your hands might shake, your voice might tremble, your mind might race, but you move anyway. That's where power is born, not in comfort, not in certainty, but in the moment you decide that fear doesn't get to drive your life anymore. Because fear will keep moving the goalpost. First it says you're not ready. Then when you prepare, it says you're still not good enough. Then when you improve, it says the timing isn't right. There will always be another reason, another excuse, another later. And later is the most dangerous word in the human vocabulary, because later turns into never without making a sound. You don't defeat fear by thinking about it. You defeat it by confronting it. Action is the language fear understands. Every step forward weakens it. Every attempt shrinks it. Every time you do what scares you, you prove to yourself that fear is not a wall. It's a shadow. It looks big from a distance, but when you walk straight into it, it disappears. And one day you'll look back and realize the things that terrified you were the very things that built you. The risk you almost didn't take becomes the story that inspires others. The leap you hesitated on becomes the moment everything changed. Not because you were fearless, but because you were determined to not let fear decide your future. So stop asking, what if I fail? Start asking, what if I don't try? Because failure might bruise your ego, but regret will break your spirit. Failure is temporary, regret is permanent. And the pain of discipline, the pain of risk, the pain of stepping into uncertainty, all of that is lighter than the pain of wondering who you could have been. Fear is not your protector. It is your test. Pass it. Listen to me carefully. Life does not wait for you to feel ready. Opportunity does not check your schedule. It does not ask for your permission. And it definitely does not linger while you overthink. It shows up, it knocks once, and if you hesitate too long, it moves on. Some of you keep saying, one day, someday, when the time is right. But the time is never right for people who are waiting for perfect conditions. Perfect conditions are a myth created by procrastination. Real change happens in imperfect moments, messy beginnings, uncertain steps. Opportunities are not permanent fixtures in your life. They are passing moments. They are windows, not walls. Windows open, and if you don't climb through while they're open, they close. And here's the part that hurts. They don't disappear. They transfer. Someone else will walk through the door you were too afraid to touch. Someone else will build the idea you kept postponing. Someone else will live the life you kept planning but never starting. Not because they were more talented, not because they were more deserving, but because they were willing to move while you were still debating. You keep thinking you have time, but time is the one resource you spend whether you're intentional or not. Every day you delay is a day you don't get back. Every year you wait is a year someone else is gaining experience, making mistakes, learning lessons, building momentum. Success is not just about effort, it's about timing and courage colliding in the same moment. And if courage doesn't show up when timing does, the moment passes. Some of you are stuck analyzing your dreams instead of acting on them. You've researched, planned, imagined, talked about it, visualized it, but you haven't moved. Knowledge without action is just decoration. Plans without execution are just comfort blankets for people who are afraid to fail. You don't need another strategy. You need a decision. A firm, unapologetic, non-negotiable decision that you will step forward even if your voice shakes, even if your hands tremble, even if your path isn't fully clear. Because clarity doesn't come before action. Clarity comes from action. You figure things out as you go. You adjust, you learn, you adapt. Nobody who has ever achieved something significant had the entire map from the beginning. They started with a direction and the willingness to keep moving when things got difficult. Motion creates options. Stillness creates stagnation. And let me tell you something else. Opportunity rarely looks comfortable when it arrives. It often shows up disguised as extra work, sacrifice, uncertainty, or risk. That's why so many people miss it. They're waiting for something easy, something obvious, something guaranteed. But guarantees are for spectators, not for players. If you want extraordinary results, you must be willing to step into situations where the outcome is not promised. Think about how many chances you've already watched slip by, conversations you didn't start, ideas you didn't pursue, doors you didn't knock on, risks you didn't take. Each one felt small in the moment, but collectively they shape your life. Because success isn't built on one giant leap. It's built on hundreds of small moments where you chose courage instead of hesitation. And understand this, hesitation has a cost, not an immediate, loud, dramatic cost, a quiet one, a slow one. The kind that accumulates until you look back years later and wonder why nothing changed. It wasn't because you weren't capable. It wasn't because you weren't worthy. It was because you kept waiting for certainty in a world that rewards action. You don't need to know everything. You don't need to eliminate all risk. You don't need approval from everyone around you. You just need to move when the moment calls, because action beats intention every single time. Courage beats comfort. Movement beats perfection. So when opportunity shows up in your life, don't analyze it to death. Don't negotiate with your fear. Don't postpone it until you feel braver. Grab it while your heart is pounding, while your mind is racing, while your instincts are screaming. Because that intensity is not a warning sign. It's proof that something meaningful is at stake. Opportunities don't wait for the fearless. They reward the decisive. Move before the moment moves on. Let me be real with you. Everybody wants the reward. But not everybody is willing to pay the price. Everybody wants the spotlight, the success, the breakthrough, the story, but when it's time to step into uncertainty, when it's time to risk comfort, security, pride, and excuses, suddenly people start negotiating. They want guarantees before commitment. They want certainty before effort. But greatness doesn't operate on guarantees. Greatness responds to boldness. Risk is not punishment. Risk is the admission fee to a different life. Every person you admire, every story that inspires you, every achievement that makes you say, "I wish that could be me," behind it is a moment where someone chose courage over convenience. A moment where they stepped forward without knowing if they would land safely. A moment where they decided that staying the same was more painful than the possibility of failing. You don't see that part on the highlight reel, but that's where the transformation happens. Because the truth is, you cannot build an extraordinary life while making only safe decisions. Safe decisions keep things predictable. Safe decisions keep things manageable. Safe decisions keep things small. If you never put anything on the line, you will never multiply what you have. You'll maintain, you'll survive, you'll exist, but you won't expand. Some of you are waiting until you feel fearless. That day is not coming. The people who win are not fearless. They are committed. They're not comfortable. They're determined. They don't move because risk disappeared. They move because their vision became louder than their doubt. When your purpose is strong enough, it drowns out the noise of fear. When your hunger is deep enough, excuses start to taste like poison. And understand this, risk does not mean recklessness. It means willingness, willingness to stretch beyond what is familiar, willingness to invest time, energy, effort, and sometimes even pride into something that may not pay off immediately. Willingness to endure the possibility of being misunderstood, criticized, or underestimated, because growth often looks foolish to people who have chosen comfort. You will fall sometimes, you will make mistakes, you will miscalculate. That's part of the process, not proof that you chose wrong. Falling doesn't disqualify you. Refusing to get back up does. Every setback carries information. Every failure carries instruction. Every loss carries preparation for a future win, if you're brave enough to learn instead of retreat. What most people don't realize is that not taking risks is also a risk, the biggest one. It's the risk of staying stuck. The risk of living below your capacity. The risk of reaching the end of your life with potential still locked inside you, unused, unexplored, unexpressed. Safety today can become regret tomorrow, and regret is a heavy burden because it's built on memories of chances you can never reclaim. You don't have to leap perfectly. You just have to leap. You don't have to eliminate all doubt. You just have to refuse to let doubt decide. Progress belongs to those who move while uncertain, who act while afraid, who commit while unsure of the outcome. Because momentum creates confidence, action creates belief, each step forward rewires how you see yourself. And once you start taking risks, something powerful happens. You stop seeing yourself as fragile. You realize you can survive discomfort. You realize you can adapt. You realize that even when things don't go according to plan, you are still standing, still learning, still growing. That realization builds a kind of inner strength no comfort zone could ever produce, so stop asking for permission to chase the life you want. Stop waiting for validation from people who aren't brave enough to chase their own dreams. Stop shrinking your vision to fit your fears. You were not designed to play life on easy mode. You were designed to stretch, to struggle, to rise, to become. Because in the end, it's not the risks you take that destroy you, it's the ones you don't take that quietly destroy what you could have been. No risk, no story.